My name is Avery Bargar. I'm from the Boston area. Born in Boston, grew up in Newton, Massachusetts, and my background. I started playing piano when I was a little kid. I started taking lessons when I was 9, but my growing up, I had my great grandfather's baby grand piano in my house, and my grandmother would tell us stories about him, and he'd been a professional musician. He played piano and saxophone, so she started teaching me little duets that we would play together. And one of my other brothers started playing saxophone, and he actually owns our great grandfather's saxophone, which is pretty cool. So I started playing piano as a kid, and I just kind of loved performing. I'm a triplet. I'm a fraternal triplet, which is kind of crazy but true. And so I think for me, like, performing was definitely a way for me to kind of distinguish myself, stand out, and have a way to kind of explore my individuality, because anybody with siblings, you get used to being compared, but it's like pretty intense when you're literally the same age, and you're all boys and everything. So I started acting also as a kid, and was always in like school plays. And then when I was in 8th grade, I did a musical, which was Pirates of Penzance by Gilbert and Sullivan. And some of my closest friends were in it, and I made more friends, and it was just like kind of a new level. And I was like, okay, I want to go further into this. So then in high school, I started taking all the theater classes and got into the improv group and did a ton of school plays. And at this point, it's like almost 20 years since I did the Laramie Project. And that was like a very, very influential performance, partly because it ended up being very impactful for the community. And like we were one of the earlier high school productions of the show about the murder of Matthew Shepard, the University of Wyoming student. And we got to meet some of the creative team behind it, and the Westboro Baptist Church threatened to protest our production. So then we got all this like national press, and our congressman, who was Barney Frank at the time, came to see it, and it was like a huge thing. And then the show itself was just so rich and meaningful, and some of my friends that I made in that show, literally almost 20 years later, are still my closest friends. And the teaching job that I now have in New York, my boss is a member of the Tectonic Theater Project, which is the company that created that play. So lots of kind of full circle moments. But that's my kind of rambling answer for how I became a performer. My idea of perfect happiness involves a balance of like time in nature, time with loved ones, and creative activity. So like being in like a beautiful setting around woods, by water, maybe like by a lake, with a bunch of people that I love, making a piece of theater together, or a piece of comedy, and just creating something out of nothing, and getting to spend as much time as we want doing it, with minimal responsibilities to come back to, basically. My greatest fear, well, I guess there's kind of like a few categories of. I have my like totally irrational fears, and one of them is just walking down the sidewalk in New York City, that like an air conditioner is going to fall on my head out of somebody's window. It's a fear I have, walking down the sidewalk almost every day in New York. And my other like existential fear, I think, is that I'll just like live totally inconsequential life, floundering forever and making no impact on the world or anybody, and that I will die in pain with nothing. That's probably my greatest existential fear. Trait that I most deplore in myself is, I think, a tendency that, a lot of people have. It's very human. I've definitely noticed it and tried to work on it, but sometimes a tendency towards like self-pity and despair, you know, where it becomes it feels like futile to try to do anything, and there's really no use in that. And if I could, I would just pull it out of my character and just throw it to the side completely. The trait that I most deplore in others, and this is also just like a very human, it's probably like one of the things that makes us most human, but is love of deception that a lot of people, manipulation. Paul McCartney, hands down. I love Paul. I mean Ringo too. Like I've seen Ringo in concert 3 times. The first time it was with my family when I was 11, and then with my mom when I was 22, and then when I was 27, I think he was playing in, I think it was in Worcester, Massachusetts, and he was still in like, you know, like a sports stadium, but it was Worcester, not Boston, so it was like a lot less expensive. So I got like a 9th row ticket for like, it was like $175, so like not cheap, but just to see a Beatle and sit in the 9th row, like $175 is like, that's probably bare minimum to see Paul McCartney and be in the very, very back. Ringo gets very kind of entranced by like everybody in the audience. He's just like, he tries to give people like as many moments to as many people as he can. And there was a moment where he like pointed it at me, and I went like this. I was like, and he goes, "Yeah, you know." That's it was one of the best moments of my life, for sure. But yeah, I mean the Beatles generally. But Paul is just like Paul. I mean, so many. I mean, one, he's an outrageously talented musician, and I think his.
And a songwriter.
I mean, a songwriter. I mean, my God, but also like his bass playing in the Beatles, so melodic and inventive. His songwriting, and just now also like, I mean, people have been asking him for. I mean, it's been over 50 years since the Beatles ended, and every single interview for the last 50 plus years of his life, people have been asking him the same questions about the Beatles, and he's so gracious. And he's so warm and funny and wise and kind. It's just like he's not a normal being. At the moment I don't have a lot of extravagance. I would love to make some more money soon so that I could indulge a lot more extravagance. I mean, probably just the apartment that my girlfriend and I live in. It's a little out of our price range, but it's, you know, for now it's great. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful apartment, a lovely building next to a couple of beautiful parks. It gets no sunlight really, so that's maybe how we got some of the deal that we got on it. But it's a beautiful apartment in Manhattan. It's pretty amazing. My current state of mind at this moment is optimistic. Lately, I'm kind of just like pleasantly surprised by how well things are going. This very moment, I'm still waking up a little bit. Nothing at all to do with the conversation and the conversation partner, but it's taking me a little bit to wake up. But yeah, things are going pretty great lately. And the first like 4 or 5 years living in New York was a struggle, a lot of it. And now I'm finally starting to like see the fruits of that. So I'm just kind of like pleasantly surprised a lot of the time. I guess I don't know if I don't think this would be considered like a classical virtue. Like traditionally this is probably considered pride, which is like one of the greatest, which is probably the greatest sin, you know? But I think in modern times, it's considered a virtue to be completely certain of what you believe. And I don't think that's wise. I think it's important to have confidence and to, you know, integrate wisdom, but there's a lot of danger, I think, that comes along with certainty, absolute certainty. It leads to arrogance and pride, and then when you've got arrogance and pride, you know, oh, that's pleasant. Arrogance and pride are a slippery slope to being punished horribly by the gods. I never lie. No, I try not to lie. I think I lie sometimes about how much I work. Because I want to be working more than I am. So sometimes I lie about how busy I am because I wish I were busier. And I don't want people to judge me and think that I'm a lazy, spoiled freeloader. Most of my life I've been very self-conscious. I have a huge head. It's disproportionately large. And I don't know, I've kind of come to terms a lot with things that I'm like self-conscious about my body, but that's probably it. It's kind of a tight contest right now between like Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, Benjamin Netanyahu, Yahya Sinwar. Although even he doesn't compare right now to Trump, Putin, and Netanyahu. They're kind of, to me, an unholy trinity of evil and self-serving. And the thing with Trump, Netanyahu and Putin, I think, are two of the most dangerous political manipulators in the world because I think they're brilliant psychopaths. Trump is just a fucking idiot. So he doesn't even have the virtue of intelligence to, you know, put him above them. Yeah. I think because it's fairly rare, although people are talking about it more and more, which is good, I appreciate like a sense of like security, emotional availability, self-awareness, which for a long time have not been considered like traditionally masculine. So really all of my friends who are men, you know, we can talk about anything. That too. It's kind of important. I mean, and just say also for men and women, sense of humor I think is extremely important. I'm trying to think if there's anything different really that I appreciate about like my friends or family who are women versus. Well, no, it's kind of the same for both, I guess. I think I overuse the words cool and sweet a lot. Maybe I don't know. Maybe music was the greatest love of my life. I don't remember a time when I didn't listen to music, and even there's days that go by somehow where like I don't know. And most days I listen to music, and I started playing music because I love music, and the Beatles especially. And I feel like music is just one of those things. It's like it's just essential, you know. It's just part of reality. Life, can't imagine life without it. Doing a show in Boston at Greater Boston Stage Company in Stoneham, which I was just talking with a friend about how it's just an incredible, it's just a wonderful place. It's a beautiful theater. It's just a fantastic community, and the feeling there is amazing. And I've done several shows there, but the first one I did, my character didn't come on stage until like 45, 50 minutes into the show, and I loved being in the show. It was so much fun, but it was also just great, just hanging out myself in the dressing room. Because there was a small cast, and I was the only guy in the show, so I also had my own dressing room, and so I like brought one of my keyboards and set it up there, and I'd drink a cup of tea in my bathrobe and play a little piano and listen to how the show was going and get ready and hear the audience reacting and just be there. And I remember feeling just like, because when I'm in the show, I'm on stage, and that's obviously its own thing, which is a tremendous amount of fun. But before getting on stage, just being in the dressing room with a cup of tea, like I remember just feeling like this is like, I was just really appreciating it completely, and there was nowhere else that I wanted to be. I'd love to be able to play any instrument and every instrument that I want. I mean, I should practice, lately, the last couple months I have not played enough piano, but like I should also practice guitar, and I've wanted to play bass and drums for a long time, so I should probably get a bass, start actually, But yeah, I'd love to be able to pick up any instrument, just go to town. I would, if I could change anything about myself, I would give myself an infinite attention span. So I could just be fully absorbed in whatever I want to do for how long I need or want to do it. So I can see all my plans all the way through. I've done some things that, like, creatively I'm very proud of. I think probably maybe my greatest achievement though is like I have a lot of really good friends from across my entire life, and I know a lot of people who are like, they're like, how are you still in touch with this person? Like, I lost touch with them like 10 or 15 years ago or something. Like, what's going on with them? And I'm still in touch with most of the people really who I've been close with since I was like 4 or 5 years old. And it's great. It's great. And I don't know many people who can say the same. I would want to be like a monk of some kind and just be like completely removed. Or yeah, I feel like it has its own challenges, I'm sure, but living in like a mountain monastery, just in quiet and peace, very, very, very simple life, not having like a phone or, maybe I don't have to be a monk to not have a phone, but I'd love to live like an hour or two outside of a great city. Like, I think I'm almost 35, and I think before I'm 40, I'd love to live in the Bay Area. Yeah, it would be fun to, it's extremely beautiful. And it would be like ideal to live in, a home, maybe like a townhouse or like a large house or like a large property with a couple of houses, just like friends and family who also live there. Not quite a commune, but sort of an insular little,
Yeah, there's more in there with more seeds.
I don't know, community.
I'll bring.
a pendant that, well, I guess it was more like a brooch that that my grandmother had on her U.S. Navy uniform. She served in World War II in what was called the U.S. Navy Waves, which was, in like 44 to 46, or 44, 45, 46, really, when the U.S. was sending every like able-bodied young man to, fight in Europe and Japan, that they put women they opened up all these positions that had been exclusively for men. They opened them up to women stateside. So my grandmother was in U.S. Naval Intelligence, and she had there's kind of this like iconic uniform that they designed these incredible uniforms to make it like more attractive for people to like join. So we have these amazing pictures of her, and she was an officer. I mean, she had like, she in her early 20s, she had like serious responsibility, which was pretty cool. But I have the brooch that was on the lapel of her uniform, and I know that was like sort of the most meaningful time of her life and one of the things that she was proudest of. So. Having bombs rain down over your head, having your homes destroyed, being exposed to disease and hunger, and having your medical facilities and schools blown up. I mean, it's, war and ethnic cleansing and genocide and the horrific violence that we're seeing right now, and especially in Gaza and now Lebanon and Ukraine. I mean, but also, Sudan and for a long time Yemen. I mean, there's just a lot of horrific violence in the world right now and suffering. And to be forced through that without a lot of hope for immediate relief is kind of beyond horrible. I mean, being on stage is pretty awesome. Performing with people, whether it's, just performing with people, I think is like the coolest thing. People tell me I'm funny sometimes. Tell me I've got nice facial hair, pronounced eyebrows. I guess humor and facial hair. Love. Ability to love and appreciate. Yeah. Shakespeare. David Foster Wallace. Lately, playwrights. I mean, lately, Tom Stoppard. Some of his plays are just absolutely incredible. In the past, also Suzanne Lori Parks. She's written some of the incredible plays and essays. What else? I mean, I guess I need to read more. There's what's this author? Just wait. Richard Tarnas. He wrote his book, two books. They're really incredible. Called "The Passion of the Western Mind," which is sort of a survey of like 2,500 years of Western philosophy, beginning like pre-Socrates all the way to like 1992 when he wrote the book, and Cosmos and Psyche is another incredible book that he wrote. It's pretty mind-blowing. In Here I Am, I think it was called Here I Am by Jonathan Safran Foer. There's this character, and he's only in like one scene basically of the book, but he's a young rabbi who officiates the funeral of one of the main characters, his grandfather, who was like a Holocaust survivor in his 90s, who committed suicide in the book. And this rabbi is just like an incredible character. He's only in one scene. I always thought like, oh, if they make a movie of that, god damn it, I have to play that character. So he's so great. Such a like unexpected, like the way he sets it up, you know, you're kind of like, oh great, this like millennial rabbi, what's he gonna have to say that's got anything to bear on the loss of this Holocaust survivor? But he totally just kind of encapsulates the scope of this guy's life in just like this one short speech. It's really beautiful. Yeah. Staying in relationships a couple times out of fear. My grandpa was one of my heroes. He was definitely one of the strongest people I ever knew. A couple of like actors also who like I've seen in, you know, Broadway and off Broadway, you know, just do what I think is just like heroic work. Like they just are so completely doing their job, but not making the project about them. You know, like you notice them because they're extraordinary, but they don't take focus away, and it's just, you know, beautiful to see. Yeah. I don't know. There's a couple of phrases I guess that I come back to. I think I try to remind myself more and more to just do the thing that's in front.